Hey, what is going on guys, RvzStealth here, and in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the new strong and weak picks for patch 9.6. And for this week in quarterback, we're going to be Division 1 for yet another week, so thank you to everybody that's already participating in my club and that is collecting trophies. For this week in quarterback, season champions are still going to earn extra coins, so if you do place in the top 100 of my club and collect at least 1,000 trophies, then you will be getting bonus coins for this week. If you do place in the top 10 of my club, you do get these badges as well here that'll show up beside your name, and then also I'll be giving away my own RP prizes for this week, so top 3 finishers will get RP, and then also as long as you play in at least one challenge throughout the week, then you will be able to have a chance to win one of 3 RP cards as well. And then just a quick rundown of quarterback for those of you who have not heard of the app yet. It's an app that allows you to play challenges in game. When you win these challenges, you get coins and trophies. With these coins, you can go into the store here and you can unlock any skin in the game once you do get enough coins. So it's a free app as well. As long as you are playing League, then you will be able to generate coins and get free skins. So link will be down in the description below for you guys to join my club and start earning your free skins. So if we get into the video now, Urgot, he's getting a lot of different changes for 9.6. He's getting the most changes out of any champion for this patch, and I think that these will be enough to bump him up into A tier for 9.6. So mana increase there, mana regen growth increase. His passive is no longer going to deal reduced damage to enemies recently hit, which is really good. This just means that Urgot's 1v1 potential does get stronger for 9.6. So for Urgot's W changes for next patch, they're removing the shield on his W and then they're putting it onto his E. So we'll go over the E changes in a second here, but his W is no longer going to have the shield. The cost on it's being lowered though, the cooldown's being lowered, the on-hit damage reduction is being lowered, and then the big one here, when you do get it maxed out, it's going to last for an infinite duration. So this is really crazy. You're going to max W out first now on Urgot for 9.6, I assume. I don't see why you wouldn't with these changes, and once you do get that maxed out now, you're just going to be insanely strong in the 1v1. So taking a look at the E changes now, it's going to grant him a shield when he does use it. So the shield is going to be, it's actually going to have a pretty good bonus AD ratio on it there. So if you do build Urgot more aggressively, then you are actually going to be getting a pretty big shield from that E. The damage is being changed there. The damage is being increased. So I guess they're incentivizing you to use this more aggressively than in the early game. The cooldown is being changed. So it's being decreased in the early ranks. So it's just going to 14 at all ranks. So that means it's going to be a little bit lower early on, but it's going to be a little bit higher at later ranks. And then the fourth change here, the cost on it is being increased by a little bit there. So it is getting buffed, like it's now going to have a shield, it's now going to do more damage. So I think that overall this is a nice change here. And what this means basically is that Urgot now, in order to proc his shield, he's going to have to play more aggressively in lane, and he is going to have to look for more aggressive trades. So I think overall these are nice changes, and it does mean that you're going to have to play Urgot a lot more smart now in the laning phase, because your E is also your gap closer. So if you do use that for the shield and you do use that to play aggressively, then you can get punished in certain situations. But I think that overall it's going to add for a lot more strategic gameplay with Urgot in the laning phase. And then for his ultimate changes, range is being increased there by a pretty hefty amount. So from 1,600 up to 2,500 range. Cast time is being increased by 0.1 seconds. And then the damage there is also being increased by 75 damage at rank 1. So that means that just overall, it looks like they're giving Urgot a lot more damage in his kit for next patch here, but they are reducing his survivability a little bit. So no longer having the shield on his W does mean that he's gonna be able to get poked a little bit easier in the laning phase. But if you can get ahead on Urgot, I think in the early game, and especially once you do get that W maxed out, he's going to be a complete monster for 9.6. So next up here for Caitlyn, ultimate damage is being increased by 50 damage. So I do think that although this is a nice change, it's not going to bump Caitlyn up into S tier. I do think she would need a little bit more of a buff. So she's going to stay a tier 80 carry. Very solid pick here for 9.6. And then for Gnar here for next patch, his W's Mega Gnar cooldown is being lowered from 15 seconds all the way down to 7 at rank 1. So this is a really nice change to Gnar. I do think he's still going to stay B tier though for next patch. This change might bump him up into A tier, but I think overall he does need one more little buff to really jump him up into a solid top lane pick for next patch. I still think that his matchups in the top lane right now are pretty weak, and this change will help him out in some of those matchups, but his mini Gnar, I feel like like that just needs one small buff, another small buff, and then he will be a solid A tier pick for solo queue. So for Hecarim for next patch, if you don't know, he actually has a bug right now with his Q to where it actually doesn't deal 10% more damage per stack of your Q. So that's a really big bug, and they're fixing it for 9.6 here. So this just means that Hecarim's damage is going to be a lot better here for 9.6. And right now in this patch, he isn't performing very well at all. So I think this change here will just bump him up back into an A tier jungler for 9.6. And then for Ivern for next patch is W passive. So the auto attack range that you do get when you enter a bush, that is getting a quality of life change for next patch. So it's no longer going to have as much of a delay to where when you enter the bush and you have your ranged auto attack, it's going to be a little bit of a less duration there. So this change here is nice for Ivern for next patch, but it doesn't really affect his placing on the tier list. Now we've changed to Nautilus for next patch, so his base armor is being increased, and then his passive per target cooldown is being lowered from 9 seconds at rank 1 down to 6 seconds. So I think that for top lane Nautilus, this does help him out quite a bit. For bot lane, for support Nautilus, I don't really think it helps him out, but for top lane Nautilus there, his trading potential does get better here in the early game. Your E cooldown with Nautilus is 6 seconds as well, so that means whenever you do use your E in the laning phase now, your passive auto attack is going to be up as well. So I think this will add to Nautilus's trading potential in the top lane, and he should actually be a pretty viable top laner for 9.6. So Shen is getting a pretty decent change here to his Q damage for next patch. It's getting increased by a little bit at every rank. Once you do get it maxed out, it's going to be increased by 10 damage. So I think Shen will jump up into B tier for next patch. He is going to be a pretty viable top laner now for patch 9.6. Trundle also getting a similar change to Shen in the sense that it's going to jump him out of being a garbage champion. So C tier Trundle right now in 9.5 should jump him up into B tier for 9.6 here. So his bonus attack speed on his W is being increased there by a little bit in the earlier ranks. It's going to be the same at the later ranks, but this is definitely going to help Trundle out with his clear in the early game by quite a bit. So for jungle Trundle, this should make him a B tier pick for 9.6. And then for Xayah for next patch, your W attack speed is being increased there by 10% at rank 1 and then by 20% once you do get it maxed out. So this is really going to help Xayah out, especially there in the mid game once you do hit level 13, getting an extra dagger and a little bit more of attack speed. So around like 450 gold of extra attack speed is going to really help Xayah out there, and I do think that she is going to jump up out of B tier into A tier for 9.6. So for Neeko for next patch, she was an S tier champion before she ended up getting hotfixed. When she did get hotfixed, her win rate dropped around like 5%, so it actually dropped by quite a bit. And even though she is getting this buff here, I think that she's still going to stay like an A tier pick for 9.6. Before she got the hotfix, she was like S plus tier. She was really strong with the on hit build, but now she's kind of leveled off a little bit, and she's still a strong pick, but she's definitely not as OP as she was before. And then for Zoe for next patch, we do have her dropping out of S tier. I do think these changes will be enough to just drop her out of S tier for 9.6. So she is getting a change to her E cooldown. It's being increased there by 4 seconds rank 1 and then by 2 seconds once you max it out. E slow is also being changed for next patch. It is going to be down by 20% once you do get that max. So I think that overall these changes, although they're not going to be enough to really make Zoe extremely weak for next patch, they are still going to be enough to drop her out of S tier and down into A tier for 9.6. And then for Leblanc, getting a similar change to Zoe in the sense that I do think it's just going to be enough to drop her out of S tier for next patch, but it's not going to be enough to drop her out of being a strong champion for solo queue. So she's still going to be an A tier pick for next patch. Her AP ratio is being lowered on her Q by 10% there, so it's a decent nerf for next patch, but like I said, it's not going to be enough to drop her out of viability for next patch. And then for Kayle for next patch, 2 changes here to her base stats. 80 per level and attack speed per level are both being lowered by 0.5. Her W bonus movement speed from AP is also being lowered from 10% per 100 AP down to 8% per 100 AP. So I don't really think this changes Kayle's placing in the tier list for 9.6. Right now, she's like borderline S tier in solo queue, and I think that with these changes, she is going to stay an A tier pick in solo queue in the top lane for 9.6. And then for Jayce for next patch, kind of similar to Kayle in the sense that even though he is getting a few different nerfs here, I do think he's going to stay an A tier pick in the top lane and in the mid lane for this next patch. His health is being lowered there by 16, HP per level is being lowered by 5, HP regen is also being lowered for next patch, so a hit to his base stats here, but I don't think this is going to be enough to really drop him down for 9.6. Now for Reksai for this patch, she is going to be getting 2 changes, so both to her ultimate, cooldown is being increased at rank 2 and at rank 3, and then ultimate's bonus AD ratio is being decreased by 25%, so this change here is a pretty decent change. Is it going to be enough to drop her out of S tier though? I don't think so, and if it is enough to drop her out of S tier, she's still going to be like an A+ champion for 9.6, so still expect Reksai to be a very strong solo queue pick for patch 9.6. Now Sylas for next patch, he is probably going to be dropping out of S tier though and down into A tier for this patch. His W's healing multiplier at low health is being decreased by 25%, so this does decrease Sylas's sustain once he does hit low on HP. His W's heal AP ratio is also being lowered there by 5%, so I do think overall that right now in this patch, Sylas is sitting on the edge of S tier for the top lane and for the mid lane, and I do think that this change here will bump him over the edge and bump him out of S tier down into A tier for 9.6. And then for Morgana for next patch, she's getting a nerf to her HP regen, also getting a nerf to her W's AP ratio. Now these nerfs are pretty small though here, so expect Morgana to still stay an S tier champion down in the support role for next patch. And then Ezreal, also another pretty small change. His W is no longer gonna, or it's still gonna deal damage to towers, but it's now gonna deal 50% less damage to structures. So overall, it is a decent nerf to Ezreal, but it's not gonna be enough to drop him down a tier for 9.6. I still think he's gonna stay an A tier / B tier AD carry for 9.6. And then for Dematerializer for 9.6, it's getting hit with a pretty big nerf, so charges are being decreased. The starting cooldown on it though is also being decreased, but although this does seem like it's a buff with the starting cooldown being lowered, it actually doesn't really matter. The main reason to why people were running Dematerializer in this patch is to just clear out the cannon minion. The first cannon wave comes 1 wave prior to 180 seconds into the game, so you're not actually going to be able to use your first Dematerializer on that first cannon wave. You're still only going to be able to use it on the second cannon wave, which does come at 240 seconds, so this doesn't affect your ability to get priority in the lane early on with this change here, so it's just overall going to be a net nerf to DMAT for 9.6. And then Overheal is also getting a nerf to where the shield value is being changed there in the earlier ranks, so 20% instead of 40%. So what this means is that Triumph is probably going to be the go-to unless you are playing a champion that does go for Blade the Ruined King, who can also go Bloodline and also does have a heal support. In those situations, I can see Overheal still being a pretty good option, but I just think that most players will go back to Triumph now for 9.6. So that is going to be all for this video, guys. Quite a lot of changes here for 9.6, lots of different champions getting buffed and nerfed for next patch. One champion to definitely watch out for is the Urgot pick. I think that Urgot in the top lane is going to be much stronger now for 9.6, and he is going to be one to definitely keep an eye out on, because with all the changes to his damage stats and stuff, I think that the build might change a little bit for Urgot for 9.6, but we will have to wait and see how he does pan out. But with that being said, guys, if you did enjoy this video, then be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you've yet to already. So thanks for watching, have an awesome day, and I'll see you in my next video.